For Education. I'm Sue Doucette, and I am the program coordinator for the Berkshire Compact for Education here up at MCLA. So today I'm here with some folks from North Adams Public Schools and MCLA to talk about BRAINworks. So tell us, what is BRAINworks?
Sure. Well, first.
Oh, sorry, I got to have you introduce yourselves first.
Absolutely. So I'm Kim Roberts-Morandi. I am the Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment for North Adams Public Schools, and also co-director of the BRAINworks project and grant.
Okay.
And I'm also a co-director of BRAINworks, and I'm a professor of arts management at Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts.
Excellent, thank you.
And I'm Dana Schildkraut, and I'm BRAINworks' content coordinator.
Excellent.
And I'm Leslie Applegate, and I am the project coordinator for BRAINworks.
Okay, so it's a project. I wasn't even sure what to call it, a program or whatever. So the project. So tell us about this project called BRAINworks.
Okay. Well, BRAINworks is the Berkshire Regional Arts Integration Network.
Okay.
And it's a collaborative effort between Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts and North Adams Public Schools through a federal grant, the Professional Development in Arts Education Grant. And it provides us an opportunity to expand learning for students through integrating arts into classrooms. We are working with teachers to help them to really focus on higher order thinking skills and 21st century learning skills.
Okay, so when we say arts, we don't mean just art, right?
We mean all disciplines of the arts and working in collaboration with other content areas. So it's focused on deep arts learning and integrating into other subjects and vice versa.
Okay.
And for folks who may not know, arts means visual arts, drama, dance, creative writing, music.
Okay, so you're integrating that into, for instance, what other kind of a topic course? History?
Exactly.
History, English language arts, math, science, social studies.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All aspects of learning really at this point, Sue, for pre-K to 12 students.
Wow.
Yes.
Awesome, because there is really arts everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we talked about that. So you have educators who are part of this project.
Exactly.
Why should an educator be part of this project? Or why would an educator want to be part of this project?
I think BRAINworks really provides an exciting opportunity to look very differently at how we are approaching education. We often talk about content areas being in silos, and BRAINworks is really about, come learn with us about how we can approach teaching and learning a little differently so that we are, again, instructing students in content areas, but we're bringing arts, an arts area or multiple arts areas into their learning. It is an opportunity to collaborate with your peers, to work with school districts across the county, to work during the summers and evenings, really looking at how do I want to approach education and using some research-based best practices. We're working with the adults to look at how do we then use research-based best practices when working with our students.
Mm-hmm. So this is not just North Adams.
Right, exactly. So the grant actually targets 4 districts with really specific Title I criteria, and those districts are North Adams, Adams Cheshire, Bart, and Pittsfield.
Okay.
But the really great thing about the way that the program is structured is that we've sort of taken it across the county for all of our professional development opportunities. We're partnered with 12 arts and cultural organizations in the area who are really great at taking ownership at delivering a lot of that content, and they're all across the county. So we move the teachers around for those opportunities. The educators really get a chance to work collaboratively with them and with each other.
Right, the Berkshires is so rich in the arts. When you talk about these 12 organizations throughout the county, I'm assuming you're talking about places like Jacob's Pillow and Norman Rockwell Museum, as well as the museums up here, and everything in between.
Exactly.
And I think, to be fair, too, we have to get used to the new name, right? We refer to it as Adams Cheshire Regional School District, but now known as Hoosick Valley Regional School District.
Right, as of just last week, I think.
Yes.
So where does the project take place? And it sounds like all over the place?
Exactly.
And who can participate? You said there are those 4 districts.
Sure. So the grant really targets educators from those 4 districts, but the program is open to anyone. We're
Okay.
really looking for such a wide reach with this. Pre-K through 12 educators are welcome to apply. Arts specialists, special education folks, all of them. We'd really like to see a huge variety.
And so they apply, which means they request to be part of your project.
Exactly.
And then they're going to develop lesson plans eventually? What's the?
Yeah, so actually, we have an existing cohort who's already moving through the program.
Okay.
So they applied this time last year and started the programming in the summer. And right now is an exciting time for us because we're about to bring on a second cohort, a second team of educators to go through a similar progression.
Okay, and you've learned what worked really well
Yes.
last summer and what you might change or tweak based on
Exactly.
educators' responses. That's
So-
always nice.
Right now, for the teachers in the cohort, they're working with an evening workshop series, we're calling it, where they're spending about 3 hours of PD in the evening after school at an arts organization, and they're learning arts strategies that they can bring back into their classroom and learning how to integrate that into their classroom. And then this summer, there'll be another 5-day intensive for them to continue this type of learning, where they're working collaboratively, writing lesson plans, analyzing those lesson plans, seeing the resources at the arts and cultural organizations in the county. And our new cohort will be joining in the summer as well to do a similar progression.
And how many folks in a cohort
We
approximately?
have around 20.
Okay.
So
A
total
class,
around
one class.
so we have around 40 participants, as Leslie mentioned, from all over the county.
That's amazing.
So the application process is in part making a commitment to really stay through the whole continuum, to build a sense of community in the cohort. And yeah.
So unlike most professional development or PD opportunities that teachers are offered, it's not you go one time and you're done.
Right.
This is you go, you do some work, you talk, you collaborate, you keep going, and you keep doing this work.
Right. The project has a research component as part of it.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're looking at 2 main areas of focus. One is going really deep with arts integration and all of the benefits that we know that will bring. Both for teachers, for their students, for their classrooms and schools. And the second really important piece is we're looking at rigor in the creative process. And so how can we use the arts to deepen rigor in teaching and learning? So it's really important to have that through line so that people sign up and stay connected and go deeper.
Right, and you learn from doing, children do, adults do as well, and then redoing and trying something different.
And while they're doing and redoing too, Dana has been going to the classrooms, visiting people in their schools, observing lessons, providing some feedback, capturing some of the observational data that we're looking at. As Lisa had said, this is also a research project.
Right.
And then offering some critical feedback. This is what worked. What would you do differently? While all of this is also being captured by teachers in an area where the lessons can be shared out in the future as well. So we're really trying to build not only on their expertise, but also give people an area to launch maybe their own lesson from at some point in the future too.
For their own passion. So you have folks with arts backgrounds in this program? And
Some of them,
some
yes,
are not.
and some are brand new, and it's a continuum really across the board. And that's we really appreciate the mix. So we have art
Right.
specialists, we have an ELL teacher,
Oh, good.
we have special education, we have student life, we have a wide range of grade levels.
Grade levels as well, starting
So
at
the
pre-K
diversity
and
really
going all the way up.
matters. Yeah.
Yes.
It is nice to be able, as professionals, to visit with folks from other grade levels, whether it's the grade above you or behind you, so that you know where they've been and know where they're going. That can be so beneficial.
As teachers are talking too, you can learn from an early childhood point of view what maybe the same type of topic would look like at a high school setting,
Right.
or in the middle grades. And so I think this learning is also one of the things that as teachers, you understand what you do and you understand the grade levels that you work with, but then there's always the wondering, what does this look like in other places? So this is a nice opportunity when teachers are together to really think about and to hear from the experts.
Right.
This topic looks like this for you. here's what I do with it.
Right.
And here's what I need to be age appropriate and developmentally appropriate.
So just to add on to what Kim was saying, I'd love to sort of share an example of that.
Thank you.
We recently had an evening workshop held at IS 183, the Art School of the Berkshires, and our participating teachers were taken through a progression to learn about collage and how to
Okay.
use collage and different visual arts collage techniques in their classrooms.
Okay.
And teachers took that information and they wrote lesson plans and they tweaked the lesson plans with feedback from their peers. Then they tried the plans out in their room. And I had the chance to witness 2 of those excellent
nice.
lessons. I saw one happening in a preschool classroom where students were, young students, preschoolers,
Yeah.
were learning about tape transfer collage
Okay.
techniques.
Ooh.
Yes, very interesting.
Kids
And-
love tape.
Yes, so the teacher really did a wonderful job of setting up an opportunity for this to be very hands-on for the preschoolers. Everybody had a chance to create their own piece of art. There was some science inquiry going on where they were really asking those great investigation questions like, why is this happening? What's going on with the tape? What's going on with the glue? It was beautiful. And then I also had the chance to see a similar lesson, but in a totally different grade level. In middle school, that a teacher had attended that same workshop on collage, and she took it back to her middle school students and led them through the process where they were investigating different materials and learning what worked best. Again, it was kind of a science approach, what worked best in terms of creating a collage.
Interesting. Interesting. And so these things, as part of a research and part of a grant, I'm familiar with grants, you need to have reports that are sent out. And how do you quantify, how do we measure, how do you prove that this was money well spent in a
Sure, sure. There are a number of project objectives that
Okay.
really span all 4 years of this project that we stick to. And we have designed performance measures in order to
Okay.
measure how close we are with those objectives. And we do so with year-to-year specificity. So we are measuring different pieces of those objectives
Okay.
from year to year. And a lot of it looks around outcomes from what happens in the classroom and sort of that qualitative narrative data that we get through looking at the lesson plans that educators create and watching how they work with each other in sort of their professional learning communities to be really reflective about the process that they're going through. Other data sort of is more quantitative, and we collect that with pre and post tests at the start of the professional development opportunities to measure where they begin and where they end and track that kind of knowledge. All of that gets compiled into the grant reports that we send to the Department of Education and also really helps us to shape where the programming is going and where we need to apply more focus.
Right.
And to make sure that we're reporting valid data, we have an outside consultant who handles the quantitative piece, which again is best practice. The grant was designed that way too. We wanted to handle the qualitative in-house, the quantitative externally, which again ended up being a part of the grant component. And once we submit our reports to the Federal Department of Education, they have an outside consultants group who then looks at the data from their perspective too, and will provide us with some input.
Oh, good.
So it's a way that in the end you know that when you're reporting, I have confidence in what it is that I'm stating in this particular area, which is really that's critical in the research piece. I always think about the quantitative data is the what, the qualitative is the why and the how. And so we are really looking at telling the story, and the outside agencies will look at proving the what.
Right. Gotcha.
So for all you people who are interested in the data,
There you go.
there's a little mini lesson.
Okay, so we talked about during the academic year, we have some evening workshops going on. In the summer, we have some intensive week-long. So do teachers earn credits from MCLA, or do they get what in education lingo is PDPs, professional development points?
They can absolutely earn either of those.
Okay.
It's up to them to choose what works best for them and,
Okay.
and their career track. So for participation, they can earn professional development points, or they can earn credits in service or even graduate credits from MCLA.
Oh, awesome. That's great. So teachers need to have a certain number of credits and points every year to renew their licenses, and that's why these sorts of things are so important.
Right.
And it sounds like as part of a cohort, and they're going to be several years worth, they can really amass a solid chunk and gain a good ton of knowledge on how this
Right.
Nicely put.
impacts children.
Right.
So-
There are so many critical components now to what equals valid professional development. And so all of the work that we've done too is aligned to what will meet the criteria, and then certainly with the graduate credits,
Right.
MCLA is the expert in that and has
Yes.
been able to handle that very
Right.
smoothly.
Right. Yeah, there are things that you have to do. There'll be X number of hours of this and X of that and so forth. Are they given tests, or is their work evaluated and that's what gets them there?
Yeah, a big
Credits?
part of that is the lesson plan writing. So after each, for example, with the evening workshops, after each workshop they attend, they're writing a lesson plan that sort of reflects the knowledge that they're gaining from the evening. And as I mentioned before, they're kind of workshopping it, discussing it with their peers, and then really trying it out in their rooms.
Right, and that takes a good chunk of time. You're saying
yes, it
3
does.
hours in the evening,
That's right.
and then to write a lesson plan and implement it and rewrite it, you're talking 10 hours or better,
Right.
I'm
Yes,
going to guess.
it's a commitment.
It is a commitment, yeah. And then somewhere there'll be a nice compilation of lesson plans for various grade levels and subject matter
Right.
area, and
So we have launched our BRAINworks website.
Okay.
And that is framed as a portal for everything arts education. So we have profiles on there for every arts organization in the county. We will have lesson plans in kind of a sandbox area. We have tabs for administrators and educators, arts educators, and arts organizations. So we'll also have a calendar so that over time we'll be able to populate that calendar with different events and opportunities
okay.
For educators. Yeah.
Awesome, very good. So I have in my notes here, what is C4? Letter C, number 4.
Yes.
I don't know what is C4.
So BRAINworks connects to a couple of other grants that are also focused on regional alignment and really promoting the Berkshires. C4 is a National Endowment for the Arts Collective Impact Grant. It stands for Creative Compact for Collective Impact. And the idea of that grant is to think as a region and really think about what do we want for every young person in Berkshire County. So to that end, we've created a blueprint for arts education. We're about to roll it out this fall. We've been interviewing a variety of stakeholders, from educators to administrators to business leaders to arts organizations, et cetera, to really think about arts education and what the role can be countywide. So that blueprint is sort of our vision.
Okay.
In addition to the blueprint, we have launched BCAN, which stands for Berkshire Cultural Assets Network.
Okay.
We have over 50 high caliber arts organizations across the county, and we're really working together to form a network so that we can think together, advance the field together, again, think regionally, and activate the blueprint. And we're also aligning the work of BCAN with BRAINworks, and also with just taking the blueprint forward and working with superintendents and principals, et cetera. And BRAINworks then is situated as on the ground, our practical application of things that we're finding.
Okay.
With the idea that we're starting with these 4 Title I districts, because that's where the grant is targeted, but that over time, what we really hope is that this would become a Berkshire County fully implemented for every school, affecting every young person, and tapping into the rich cultural assets that we have.
Right,
Yeah.
right. 50 organizations, that's
Even more
impressive.
than that, 50
It's
plus,
impressive. And
yeah.
so what I know is, living here in the Berkshires and having gone to conferences and such out of state, Berkshires collaborate like no other.
Yes.
Part of it is our geographic isolation with the mountains on each side of us and bordered by 2 different states, and our identity as a county. People in other places don't know what county they live in.
Right.
In Massachusetts. But we're Berkshire, it's always Berkshire County this, Berkshire County that, Berkshire County. We are a group that
Absolutely.
can really work together. I'm so
Yes.
thrilled to hear about other arts agencies and inspired groups that are willing to work together for the good of all.
Definitely.
Really, for
Exciting
the good
times,
of
yeah.
all. So that's great. So that's what C4 is. So how are these programs, C4, BCAN, BRAINworks, going to have an impact on Berkshire County schools?
That's a great question. So I think, from the BRAINworks perspective, really understanding what arts integration is, why it's so crucial to lead to deep learning, capitalizing on the expertise of the educators that we have, and collaborating, partnering with these various arts organizations. I think that's sort of setting benchmarks, leading with teachers' expertise. I think the BCAN network is providing a network that is easily tapped into. So if you're a principal and you're not sure where to get started, you can go to the website, you can go to BCAN, you can, so the work can start on either end. It can be spearheaded by an arts organization, it can be spearheaded by a school. And then I think the blueprint really kind of having this collective vision and really thinking about how to make this work really relevant. So all the pieces fit nicely together, I think.
And then you have the impact directly on the schools. So now we have a group of teachers who have formed 2 cohorts, right, with the incoming one that we have for this summer. We have 2 cohorts of individuals who are learning in a different way and learning about applying their skills in a different way and being exposed to different ways of thinking about planning and student engagement and activating knowledge and how do you engage all students. And so we have developing expertise in this field. We also are then thinking too about what does this mean for high school students who are looking for majors? What does this mean for internship possibilities? And the more you build the relationships between the arts organizations, the individuals involved in all of this work through BRAINworks, through C4, through BCAN, plus all of the schools and other businesses and people watching the show.
That's right.
The more people are understanding this is a different way that we're approaching the work,
Right.
I think the more creative the learning gets. And when you have teachers leading either the professional development or the programming, it also it takes on a life of its own because it's not a prescriptive way to do something. This is let's take content, let's take an aspect of the arts, let's look at how we blend it together to maximize learning and to engage students in really those reach activities in learning that are really challenging. So I think that we have the ability to say, here's a new way to think about professional development through your intensive summer programming, through some evening workshops, through this blended aspect, through the boots on the ground in your class, watching and providing direct feedback, all while you are then creating resources for other teachers. And oh, by the way, you have coaches through the arts organizations who can also be in your school.
Nice.
And who can be working with you. And while all of these things do go on in pockets,
Sure.
we don't have many instances when they're happening all under one umbrella.
Yeah. So it sounds like teachers in the cohorts are really learning how to think outside the box and learning how to teach thinking outside the box.
Yes.
And this is what I'm hearing it from business communities is we need folks who know how to think and solve problems and think outside the box. That in this age of technology, there are multiple ways to get things done. Let's think outside the box. And if these teachers are learning it, and I can tell when I talk to you about the excitement that the teachers get from it, I'm sure that trickles down to their students, but also to other teachers, the ones down the hall or in the next classroom or whatever, teaching the same subject and going, hey, well, how come they're doing that?
I'm happy to say with this new cohort that we're bringing on, a lot of the teachers were exactly what you described, seeing their peers doing this work and saying, hey, how can I get involved?
Right. And that's peer pressure of the best kind. When teachers or students are feeling like, well, hey, they're doing fun and learning stuff, I want to do that too. So this is a great opportunity for Berkshire County. And I know it came about applying for a federal grant, which also not easy. I know that there's an immense amount of reporting and tracking and keeping tabs on all those things to make sure that the goals of the grant are being met. So I thank you for doing that and taking on, this is a big responsibility in addition to other jobs you may have or duties that you have. It's a lot, federal grants and just being on top of it all. But for the good of our students and then for the good of the businesses in our county, the arts institutions, which we know we are the premier cultural resort, isn't that what the sign says coming in?
Right.
Berkshire's America's premier cultural resort. That is an outstanding employer in our county. We need to be able to support them, and what a great idea to be able to say, oh, maybe I could get some high school kids to be interns or college students or whatever. And yes, we need STEM careers, but yes, we need arts careers. We need all of that here in the Berkshires to keep thriving.
And I think we're also offering the teachers an opportunity to thrive too. When you think about your classroom, when we talk about learning, professional development, or classrooms where your training is going to be held, you really think about a traditional classroom. But in the case of the work through this grant, they're learning on site at one of the many cultural organizations that we have across the county. And so not only are you learning the concepts, but you're also experiencing it firsthand. And you're engaged in some of the same activities that you are going to then look at. How do I make relevant to the students that I have before me?
Right. But to be able to go to the museums and be learning in those, they're all education institutions. We haven't always thought of them as such, but they truly are.
Right.
And I have myself, as an early childhood person, done a little bit of research in art education for early childhood and how you can connect them to the great artists. And really, there's information out there. But you guys have pulled it all together for these teachers, and to be able to watch that span through the ages and see the results. So will there be some culminating art show, or I don't know, how would the county, how would our viewers here be able to see for themselves anything from this? We only have a minute or so left. I know that's a loaded question, but what sort of plans do we have to make the county even more aware of what's going on?
So one of the things that we have in the North Adams Public Schools District right now are plans to engage in a mural project for next spring, and it will actually blend some of the BRAINworks learning and participants with some of the expectations that Massachusetts now has, where 8th grade students will engage in service learning projects or project-based learning.
Perfect.
So more to come on that.
Excellent.
But we've got two
That's
exciting
what I'm
projects.
talking about. It doesn't have to be a one-time art show, a permanent or mostly permanent art object. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think the website as well, we're going to launch a series of spotlights.
Excellent.
Bringing forward exemplars. There's so much good work happening.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for coming in. We had done a show last year to introduce BRAINworks. It's nice to be able to follow up, and we will do more follow-up as the years progress and time moves on, and we'll be able to maybe bring students in at some point and be able to do a real let's think outside the box.
That's great.
Again, thanks
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for your time, and thank you for watching, and we'll get back to you another time.